Hi, I'm Tony Nichols, and welcome to Chamber Chat. Hi, and welcome to this edition of Chamber Chat, a program put together by the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce to keep you informed on what's going on in your chamber and in your community. Joining us now is Jodie Edwards with the Village at Harbor Point. Welcome to Chamber Chat.
Hi, thank you, Tony.
The Village at Harbor Point. That is, I think if you're from Salisbury, everybody knows at least that they've heard of this place.
Yes.
But it's an assisted living facility.
Correct.
And you're here to talk about really what that is.
Correct.
What is an assisted living facility?
It's an assisted living facility. We also do independent living as well. Assisted living is living with assistance, pretty much. It's kind of the first step as we get older. We may, have a home that we've, built our whole life on, and it may just, be time to kind of let that go.
Sure.
We're kind of tired,
Right.
Taking care of our home, and it's just something that we're ready to relax.
Right.
So you can come and stay in an assisted living facility, and we're kind of in the background as your security. So the independent living as well, where you can come and stay, and there's actually on-site nursing staff and an on-site facility in case something were to happen. And also maintenance takes care of everything for you, your landscaping, anything that happens in the home that you're in.
I want that now.
I know, so do I.
This tends to be a family decision many times.
Correct.
So there have to be a lot of things that come into consideration when you're choosing an assisted living facility.
Yes.
What would some of those be?
You really want to, it's an important decision.
Sure.
It really depends on your personality and your lifestyle and what you're looking for. There's all different types of assisted living facilities. There's large ones, there's small ones, there's ones that have a lot of activities, there's ones that may have minimal activities, and that's really depending on what kind of lifestyle you want to live. And I know when I help some families looking for that, I'm very open about that, because it's a very important decision, because it's kind of where you're starting to spend the rest of your days, and it's important in your lifestyle.
There have to be perceptions out there that they're one way, and when in fact they are polar opposite. What are some of those misconceptions that people might have about assisted living or independent living situations?
I think everybody puts it in one, like nursing home. When they hear assisted living, independent, they just all of a sudden they go right to nursing home, and that's really not what assisted and independent living is. And we strive to keep those independent for as long as possible. It's almost like an apartment complex. They have their own mailbox, as an apartment complex would have. They have their own privacy. They have the ability, if they need help, it's there.
Right.
But we're not. It's totally different than what people expect.
Talking about totally different, over the years, everyone, post 45, I'll say. Many of us remember our grandmother or grandfather being in a nursing home, and that's maybe where a lot of that nursing home connotation comes from. But how have assisted living communities changed over the years?
How have they changed over the years?
Yeah.
They've become...
What's different today than 20 years ago?
There's been a lot of regulations placed.
Okay.
Especially on the skilled nursing facilities. In 1987, the Omnibus Act was put into play to make sure that residents in facilities had rights. And that also went into assisted living facilities as well. And part of my job, too, is to make sure that those rights are upheld, and I believe I have a passion for that as well.
Sure. When, going back to the family decision aspect of things, what are some of the questions that get thrown at you that people have about assisted living facilities?
How am I going to pay for it?
Okay.
That's the number one question. My experience, I've worked in skilled, I've worked in assisted, independent, and even in home health. And for assisted living, what I find is insurance generally does not pay for that. It's mostly private pay.
Okay.
Medicaid will help. There's what's called a med waiver program. Long-term care insurance does pay for a portion of it. However, most of assisted living and independent living is private pay.
Okay.
And that is a shock to most people.
Yeah, I'm sitting here a little bit baffled myself.
Right.
And that is private pay.
Yeah.
So you pay for, you're still paying for someone to cut your grass.
Yeah, true, true. That's true.
That's right. So what is the difference in, the independent living versus assisted living versus skilled nursing facilities we hear so much about?
Independent living is you're living on your own in your own house or apartment. And really, I know in my experience, they have pendants. So if something were to happen, if they were to fall or something came up, they would hit the pendant, and actually the facility responds to that, assesses the situation. But that's pretty much where it ends, except for the maintenance. Whereas assisted, it's in the facility. You may have med management. So a CNA or CMT may come and give you your meds, certain types of things like that. You're fed. There's a dining hall. You get 3 meals a day, and you can choose between 1, 2, or 3 meals a day. You're a part of activities. You can go out on trips and things of that nature, but you can be as involved and as not involved as you'd like. Whereas skilled is more, you're in a facility, you have a skilled need, though you have nurses 24/7, CNAs giving you care, helping you shower, and things of that nature.
Gotcha. So why would people then choose, maybe some of the reasons why someone would choose an assisted living facility and some of the benefits behind that?
Again, it gives them a lot of freedom. They're not constantly worrying about who's going to fix this, who's going to cut the grass. It gives their children and their family a lot of, they feel a lot safer knowing that mom and dad are maybe in a safer place rather than being at home alone. Some families live out in the middle of nowhere, so now they're with other people.
How should people be planning for this? Because if it's a self-pay program, obviously some money should be set aside and a future plan for.
Everyone really should start looking at this now. I mean, I should start looking at this now. Long-term care insurance, setting up retirement funds. It's something that really should be looked at when you're younger.
So how do you get started in this process? So if I have a loved one or someone's watching that has a loved one, well, how do they get the ball rolling?
They would just, depending on their need. A lot of people, it's an immediate need, so they start right then, and that's really the wrong way to go. When you start to reach, a certain age, you just kind of want to go out there and you want to tour facilities, you want to ask questions, call any of the facilities in your area. They give tours, talk to the director of admissions. I'm more than welcome to talk to anyone about anything and give my advice in any way that I can help, whether it's my facility, any other facility in the area.
So it's like buying a house or buying a car or anything else.
It's a big decision.
You're going to shop and you're going to make your decisions based on the information you've given and make the best choice for yourself.
Yeah, it's a very personal decision.
Sure. Anything else we should know?
I think that's all.
Jodie Edwards, the Village at Harbor Point. Thanks so much for being on Chamber Chat.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'd like to give you the opportunity now to take a look at the upcoming events with the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat right here on PAC 14. Joining us now is Kim Gillis of Becker Morgan and current chairman of the Board of Directors for the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat, Kim.
Thanks, Tony. Good to be here.
This is your first visit back as chairman of the Chamber.
It is.
So how have things been going in your chairmanship?
I think we're off to a really strong start. We have a really great board of directors this year and an at-large council, as well as an excellent staff. So we've been hitting the ground running, and we're well underway with our program of work for the year. So I think we're up to a great start.
And we've talked several times on Chamber Chat over the complete rebirth of the Chamber over the past 5 years. what are some of the things that, and you're the first chairman of the board that hasn't gone through the chairs, and really will be in full-fledged reaping the benefits, if you will, of the new design. So what's in store for us for 2016, and what can we look forward to seeing from the chamber?
Yeah, well, as you said, we've gone through some really monumental changes over the past few years, and that has laid the foundation which we can move forward on now. So this year, what we're really focusing on is kind of tweaking to make sure that the efficiencies are there, and our standard operating procedures are key performance indicators, KPIs. So we're looking at some more internal functions to make sure that we're best serving members, we're supporting the staff, that the board feels supported, communications are funneling properly. So there's a lot more internal tweaking going on, but I use the word tweaking because the changes are much smaller than what has taken place over the past few years. So I'm thankful for all those ahead of me that got us to this point.
You're talking about changing and reaching out to the chamber members. One group that we began reaching out to last year that I think you're going to highlight and continue to do so are the past presidents. How important is it to engage the past presidents?
The past presidents are very important to our chamber. They have the institutional knowledge, the history, they have the passion for our business community, the community at large. So that is a resource that we really want to continue to tap and stay engaged with. Matter of fact, to that point, as part of our program of work, our plan is to meet with them twice throughout the year through a past president's luncheon, hear feedback from them as to what they're seeing and feeling and hearing in the community, ideas that they may have. And matter of fact, at the end of your chairmanship, we hosted that luncheon, and I got to sit in the room, and that really helped me as we all began to form the program of work for this year, because the past presidents had so much valuable insight. So our plan now is to do that on an annual basis. So this year we plan to host that past president's luncheon in November, so the incoming chair can also have the benefit of those discussions and feedback.
There's another new item in the past 6 months even, that has really gotten a lot of traction, is the Women's Network. I attended the first Women's Network only because I was the chairman of the board and wanted to show support. I have not gone to another one, so tell us how that's going. I hear that's very well attended.
First of all, I'm sure they'd be thrilled to see you back there again.
Sure they would, yeah.
But that network is off to a really active start. They have some events coming up with a gently used food or a clothing drive. And they've had a number of events over the years with really great attendance. So that network is off to a really active start. And also our agriculture network is getting ready to come back. We had that a few years ago, and I believe it just had gone away for a while. And with everything that's taking place in the agriculture community and the chamber being an advocate for our ag industry, they've decided to reinstate the ag network. So I'm really glad to see that, because I think it's vital to our community and our region at large.
Agreed. Can you go back to your program of work and pull a few more things out of there, and tie that into your goals that you'd like to see accomplished for the chamber in 2016?
Sure. So kind of where we started from, a lot of the where we want to start is looking at some of the internal functions and making sure that we're operating efficiently. So again, the KPIs, the SOPs, communication plans, some of those real functional items. We also worked with each division. So the 4 divisions are the business and economic development, membership, community outreach, and government advocacy and government relations. So we worked with each of those divisions to create their program of work, which we've implemented into the overall. So, for example, one of the initiatives of the business and economic development is to really begin to look more as a region rather than just our local community. The Salisbury, Wycomico County is the hub of the Eastern Shore, the capital of the Eastern Shore, whatever you want to say. And we think there's a lot of opportunities if we can act as a catalyst to pull together our region, so Delaware, Eastern Shore of Maryland, Eastern Shore of Virginia, and begin to act as a collective group. So imagine the resources if we pull together and what we can accomplish with one voice. So they have a forum coming up in line with that. It's May 6th, I believe. So that forum's coming up, and it's a great initiative the Regional Economic Development Team has undertaken. So I'm excited to see what comes of that, what ideas come out of it, and how we can help move it forward.
I know we broke through a glass ceiling last year, and we've stayed above it in surpassing 800 members. 1,000 members in sight.
1,000 members is still the goal, and we've got a great membership division working towards that right now. Another new network that they're creating is the Growth and Development Network. So I'm excited to see some of the ideas that come from that. We've had one initial meeting and we have a follow-up meeting coming soon, but the goal remains 1,000 members. We're as strong as our membership base, and that's where all of our ideas come from. So we want to continue to grow that for our business community.
One of the biggest things that, one of the biggest catalysts for revamping the chamber was to become more relevant to the business leaders and the community at large. So what do you see the chamber doing now to continue to help the community become better, the business community and the community at large?
I think one of the things that I'm most proud of, and you could probably speak to it too, is the relationships and the synergy that we now see in our community. So we have open and ongoing dialogue with our elected officials, our local leaders, our state leaders, delegates, as well as civic groups, in addition to the business community, obviously, but our other civic groups. So we're working with Greater Salisbury Committee on a few different initiatives. We continually work with our members and the business community to hear from them what we should be doing, how we can support them. But I think we're working together as one big community, and I think that makes a world of difference. And so I'm really excited to see that synergy and collaboration continue moving forward.
Agreed. Updated the strategic plan over the summer.
That's right.
Or the fall, I should say, of last year. So I'm assuming that'll tie right into your program of work.
It will. And matter of fact, that brings up a good point. When we were talking about the internal structure and how we're tweaking that, two initiatives that we've implemented that are going to be annual procedures are a board orientation, which you were really instrumental in getting that underway. That's going to be an annual event that we host. So all new board members, all existing board members, a chance to regroup, kind of understand the responsibilities and expectations. And I think that's important to running our chamber. And also the strategic planning session. We want that to be an annual event where we come together, look at the year ahead of us, kind of reflect on what we accomplished the year before, but more importantly, look ahead to what we need to accomplish in the coming year. So I think those two events are really important to our organization.
Kim, we look forward to the great things that lie ahead for the chamber under your leadership. Thank you for joining us here on Chamber Chat.
Thanks, Tony.
We'd like to give you another opportunity now to take a look at the upcoming events with the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat right here on PAC 14. Joining us now is Greg Bassett with the Salisbury Independent. Welcome to Chamber Chat.
Thanks, Tony.
You're not on that side of the camera very often.
It's weird to sit over here.
It is a little weird. I've been over there before. It's a little weird. Listen, I want to read something. It's part of a script that I read not too long ago, and it's talking about the Chamber Award.
Is this going to embarrass me?
Hopefully. This award has been the capstone of the awards presented by the Chamber of Commerce since 1949 to recognize superior service to the community. Let me be the 200th person to congratulate you on winning the Chamber Award. Man, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
In leading up to, all the reasons why you're deserving in this award, if you would, start from maybe from 1979, I think that was the date that you jumped into the business.
It's the day I walked in the Daily Times for the first time.
Give us just a 50,000-foot view of your career leading up to the Salisbury Independent.
It's simple for me because growing up, the newspaper was the focus of everything in my family and of the community. Okay. So you go to church on Sunday, everyone's talking about what's in the paper, from Dick Tracy, the comic, to how hard the crossword puzzle is.
That was part of culture, yeah.
It was the content of the paper was what we all talked about.
Sure.
And at dinner time, we'd sit there and we'd talk about the news of the day and what had been in the paper. And I just knew that if I wanted to be, not a player so much, but being really involved in my community, if I could have some sort of a role at a newspaper, then I would really be able to make a difference in my community. So that's how it all started.
Sure.
But I just love newspapers, always have.
So that led to you ultimately being named the editor and going through that process. And the editor of many papers oftentimes is not held in the highest esteem.
No.
And you probably experienced a little bit of that.
Oh, absolutely.
But, leading up to the Salisbury Independent birth, I've heard you now on several different occasions make a statement about what you would tell people that really came at you as the editor of the Daily Times, and then what people compliment you on about the Salisbury Independent. What was the paradigm shift, and what was the statement at the same time? But there was obviously a paradigm shift.
It's amazing. The example I used the other night, it's when you have people who are angry at you, it's good to learn how to disarm people. I've always done that with self-deprecating humor. Usually in a newspaper, people have this idea there's a conspiracy meeting every morning and we're going to decide who we're going to go get. They don't understand that usually it's just incompetence more than conspiracy.
Right.
That a newspaper, the staff can't even agree what kind of pizza to order on election night, let alone who we're going to go defame in the community that day or what evil we're going to construct. But people, this thing comes into their homes, they read it, they care about it a lot, they want it to be right, they want it to reflect their views and their values, they want it to reflect the community that they see. So when you try to disarm people and they're angry, I used to say that the line I would do that would make people be quiet was, okay, well, a newspaper is only as good as the community it serves.
And the goal there was to put them in their place.
Not to put them in place, but just get them to stop
Well, right. Well, that's the same. Okay.
arguing.
Yeah.
So they would go, oh, okay, our community's not very good, so our paper's not very good,
Right.
so okay, that explains it. And it's a horrible, horrible thing to have to say to people. It's just, it shows how pathetic the situation could be that you would say that. So now when people come up to me and they tell me how much they love the newspaper, my redemption is to say, well, newspaper's only as good as the community it serves. And I kind of tear up when I do that because I'm so proud to be able to have that opportunity to make it up. But at the same time, if they like the paper, it's because if the paper's doing its job, reflecting the community, then they're going to like their community. And that's the key.
Passion or the idea of being a part of the community, you just said that's what drove and pushed you into the newspaper industry. I didn't know you then. I wasn't here then. But what I see in the start of the Salisbury Independent and the time that I've known you is almost a rebirth of that passion focused in a different direction.
Right. It's the stuff that we used to do in the old days in newspapers that made newspapers matter. I read a little history column for the Salisbury Independent. I don't think anyone was reading it. It's actually like the third most popular thing on our website. People love to read this little history column. And they used to have a socials column in every day. And it would be like Mr. and Mrs. Smith went to visit their son at college over the weekend. Stuff like that. And I'm just mesmerized by that because that's the kind of news that we all talk about. It's the stuff that we talk about at the Giant and over the back fence. It's the stuff that really makes a community. And I would like to be able to do that kind of newspapering in what I do. And as the metros, the bigger papers have lost space and staffing, they can't do that anymore. And people are more disconnected. They don't seem to care that much about those things,
Right.
so we're told. But by putting the awards in the paper, in the Salisbury Independent, kid makes Eagle Scout, you put his picture in his
Right.
paper, in the paper, that's refrigerator news. They clip it out, they hang it up, they
That's
put it
right.
in a scrapbook. It means something, it documents their life, and that's what papers did for so long. They don't do it anymore, and it's just a tragedy. I think it pulls the community apart instead of bringing it together.
Oh, agreed. You stole you stole a little bit of my thunder and didn't even know it. I was going to ask you about the history piece that you do that I hear so many, and read myself,
Right.
I hear so many people talking about. I was going to say, what are some of your favorite pieces to write in the paper? And then, does that does that line up with what your readers are seeing as their favorites?
Well, when I started the paper, I would do some things just to have filler because we weren't selling ads yet. So I would kind of create content that I could position each week and not have to worry about. So the history column was one of those things, and I enjoy it because I like going back and reading about my community. I love that. The news quiz is incredibly popular. I'm so tired of writing the news quiz each week, but people love it and they call in and they want to argue with me about the answers. It anchors a place in our paper. They love that. So I love doing the news quiz to a degree. I love doing the history column. But I love when I have a room to write. The Q&As that we did, accidentally a smart move on my part because I was able to sit down with newsmakers, introduce myself, ask them questions that I always wanted to ask them, put it in the paper, and then when they got reaction from the public, they realized that the newspaper had some credibility. People would say, hey, I saw it in the Independent. So sort of the newsmakers in the community got to know me, got to know the paper through that. And it's a great feature. It's a lot of work. As we've sold more ads, I'm not having the Q&A in as much.
Right.
I'm going to try to have it in twice a month now. I just had one with Chris Bitters from Delmarva Shorebirds. But I'm going to get that thing ramped up again because people really miss it. I didn't know how much they missed it or how much they read it until it wasn't there, and then they told me how much they missed it. So I really enjoy those Q&A features.
You have a very familiar staff.
Yes.
It seems that even pre-Salisbury Independent, I think that speaks to who you are as a person, you know, both personally and professionally.
Right.
To have a staff come with you to the Salisbury Independent. What would you like to say about your staff?
Well, they're people that I've worked with for years. Todd Dudek and I went to junior college together down in your turf, down at Chowan College in historic Murfreesboro, North Carolina. That's where I first met Todd. Joey Gardner, who shoots sports, he came to Chowan right after I left Chowan. So we've been together for 40 years, whatever it is. Susan Canfor and I have been together since 1987 as reporters of the Daily. So we're kind of refugees from the Daily. Bryce Stump is a contributor for us. Everyone loves Bryce Stump. They want his content in a paper. And he needs to be somewhere because he's the king of telling that storytelling in that artistic form on the peninsula.
Right.
So to have him is a great honor. So I'm lucky to have some of the refugees from the Daily and other people in the community who have always said that they wanted to work somehow in a newspaper, and it's been terrific. Linda Dyer, her history column, never knew Linda, loved reading her history stuff.
Very good. Well, you heard it right here on Chamber Chat. You just heard it. North Carolina is the reason for the success of the...
No, but I do want to say this. You know, after I left the Daily, after I was invited to leave the Daily, and I was in the wilderness there for a while, and Chamber Chat was in my head when I was doing the business plan for the Salisbury Independent, because you bring people in here, you talk about the positive things that are going on in the community, you hit the negative things too, but you're with newsmakers, you're telling a story, you're promoting the goodness of Salisbury in our community. And I was really inspired by this show and really inspired by your contribution to the Chamber through that, and that's just a fact. It was the kind of thing that I was like, we can build a paper around what Tony does on Chamber Chat.
That's very cool. That's very, very flattering for you to say that.
You're not getting a check, but it's true. I mean, you were doing this, you made it cool before I did, and I'm just feeding off of what you did in terms of giving back to the community. So I really appreciate Chamber Chat.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to share? Let's leave with this. What is the thing that you enjoy most about putting together the Salisbury Independent?
I enjoy the panic. Like just yesterday, I built the paper. So right now, all 32 pages of that paper are in my brain. People on the printing press have seen it, but no one else has. So today, it'll start going out in the community, and people will start to react. And I get goosebumps thinking about this because they're either going to like it, or they're going to hate it, or they're not going to care.
Right, that's right.
And I wrote 2 budget stories, and I'm worried, you know, did I get all the budget stuff right? You know, are the numbers, are they all going to add up? So I'm in a panic about that. But what I love the most is when people read it, and I see them at Starbucks or at Dayton's, and they're sitting there reading it. I watch them read it, and I watch them react, and I'm trying to make a difference, trying to make things better for them, help them connect with their community. And if I get a sense of that, that's the ultimate.
Very good. Greg, congratulations on being the 2016 Chamber Award recipient, and congratulations on the enormous success of your paper.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining us here on Chamber Chat. As always, if you missed a portion of this edition or you'd like to view previous editions of Chamber Chat, we'd encourage you to visit PAC 14's website and utilize their on-demand feature, or visit the Chamber of Commerce's website and view the YouTube channel. That's about all the time we have for this edition of Chamber Chat. My name's Tony Nichols, your host, encouraging you to make a difference.